So tonight, there's a couple of things I'll do specifically. If you are driving or if you're not able to do this, what we're going to do tonight, that's totally understandable. I get it. But I'm gonna require you to have something to write with and something to write on, even if it's just type, even if it's just on your phone or computer, it's fine. Um, because I'm gonna walk you through an exercise that I do with every Practicum 2 client class at the end of the time, and then I do this with my clients as well from time to time, a different version of what I'm gonna do tonight. And I'm a big fan of like rituals and transitions and milestones and markers. And I feel like this is a good marker. When I was getting my PhD, my very last actual academic class the last one I've ever taken, as a matter of fact, in 2010, um, our cohort, when we knew this last class was coming and we were really close. And so we had a big party at the end and basically kind of like shared, highs and lows and fun, and things we liked and things we missed. We had the advantage of all seven of us starting together and ending together, which was kind of cool. Um, and it was something that I really appreciated, that we did, because we kind of capped off our academic time together, and then we all kind of split up and went all over the place basically as we wrote our dissertations. But as I think about uh, things that things that we do that can cap off, different phases of our life, I think it's good to take stock of those things every once in a while. And one of the things that we as human beings sometimes don't do a great job of is slowing down long enough to appreciate what we've accomplished or what we've worked through, or how far we've come. Some people do this better than others. But I realize that in this program, it's kind of like you're working, you're taking classes, you hit the ground running. Sometimes you take one class, sometimes you take three. Sometimes it takes you 2 years, sometimes it takes you 6 years. I mean, there's different, everybody goes at different speeds. Um, but I know one thing is for sure is that we all go through things as we're in this program, because this is only like a small part of your life. You still got the rest of your life going on around you as you're going to class. And this is true of clients when we work with them too. Sometimes I like to, and I tell my clients this, sometimes as therapists, we can have a 30,000-foot view of someone. They have a 5-foot view of their life, and we can have like a 30,000-foot view, and that 30,000-foot view is a good perspective for people sometimes. So I'm going to ask tonight, as we do this exercise, I'm going to try to elevate you to like a 5,000, 10,000-foot view of your life for the next 30 minutes, and walk you through an exercise that I think is good. And if you're watching this recording, you can do this as well. And so you'll need something to write on, something to write with. Like I said, even if it's your phone or your computer. I personally still like the old-fashioned pen and paper um, method, but I'm cool with whatever you want to do. So what I want you to do is take a piece of paper, notebook, whatever, and you're going to write the start date, like first class you took, like whenever that was, um, whenever your first start date was, like May 2018, or whatever. Just write, hey, my time at Amberton started this month this year, and write that at the top. And then in a list, and a lot of people do this different ways, it doesn't really matter to me how you do it, but in a list from that time until now, I want you to write down all the events, all the things, that either happened to you, you went through, you experienced. This can be highs or lows, can be good or bad, that you went through from that time until now. It's not an exhaustive list because I'm not going to give you forever. I'm going to give you a few minutes, but I want you to write all those things down. For example, probably most of you were here during COVID, so that would count as a thing that we all went through. So from the time you started until now, and I'm gonna mute myself and let you guys kind of think through that. There's a couple of people that joined late. All I'm having everyone do is write down when they started at Amerton, like the month and the year. And then from that time until now, all the events or things or anything you went through or that things that happened during that time frame. We're just kind of making a list of those things. I'm gonna give you guys about 3 more minutes. Give you another minute to kind of think through that. Again, it's not an exhaustive list. Now, to the side of that or underneath it, depending on how you wrote it, I would like for you to write from the time you started at Amerton till now, um, every accomplishment you had. So accomplishment is something you accomplished, you finished, you did. It doesn't have to be big, it could be small things too. Any accomplishment. I'll give you a couple more minutes. Now, I want you to look at those accomplishments, the list, and I want you to circle, highlight, underline any of those that you're proud of that you would want to tell someone about, that you be maybe your favorite. And it could be more than one, more than two, more than three. Maybe even one you didn't realize you had done. Then the next thing you're going to do underneath all of that, now I'm going to make you get a little more granular. I would say the top three things you learned about yourself from the time you started at Amerton until now, the top three things you learned about yourself. I'll give you another minute to finish that up. And one thing I've learned about people is activities like this are good, first of all, I think, but they can be really a lot more powerful when we share them collectively. So I'm going to put you guys in breakout groups, and all I want you to do is share. If you want, you don't have to. But I know a lot of this people in this group will be fine talking. I'd like for you to just share those two things: what you learned and what your favorite accomplishments have been. Just talk about it, and I'll let you guys do that for a little while, maybe 7 or 8 minutes, and then we'll come back. And there you go.
That was
Hopefully it didn't cut everybody off, but I'm sure it did.
It did, but it's fine. I was mid-sentence, but it's okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's the only downside I don't like about the breakout rooms is it's like once it stops, it stops. That's it. There's no going back. All right. I would love to hear from whoever would like to tell me a little bit about either one favorite accomplishment, what you learned. I'd love to hear from you guys. What'd you write down?
Well, a consensus between, well, Haley, unfortunately, her microphone wasn't working, so she didn't get to share. We didn't get to hear what she had to say. But Marjorie and I both kind of agreed that one of the things that we learned about ourselves was that I was sharing that when I walked into practica, like my internship, I felt very unprepared, very like I did not know what I was doing, or I wasn't capable, not necessarily capable, that sounds too harsh, but I just didn't feel like I was ready. And so having gone through these last 6 months of working with these women in the domestic violence shelter, I learned that connection and empathy and just being a compassionate listening ear went so far with these women, and it taught me that I'm more capable and more ready than I thought I was. So, and Marjorie said she agreed with the same sentiments. So
Ditto. Yes, absolutely
yes, ditto
agree.
as well. That's what I said.
How's that feel?
Go ahead.
How does that feel?
Uh-huh.
It's very humbling, to be quite honest, because these women that we're not on the playground just having fun. We're like legitimately I was walking into these women's lives in some of the most difficult situations that they had ever experienced. And for them to have the breakthroughs that they did, and for them to tell me the things that they told me in our sessions. And at one point, one of my clients, when she found out that we only had a couple weeks left, she was crying because she didn't want us to stop meeting together. Like it's a very humbling experience to know that simply being a face on a screen and a listening ear for someone had such a profound impact on their lives that it's huge. It was huge. It's huge for me. Like it's a completely humbling experience.
Good. What does it feel like to learn that about yourself?
I would say it's a long time coming for me. I know that I'm capable, but it's one of those things that you can know it, but then having other people have a consensus of the same opinion, it's empowering and again also humbling.
So you have evidence now that tells you something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You had no evidence that you weren't ready. Now you have evidence that you are. Is that true for everyone?
Yes, I would agree.
Absolutely.
I would agree.
Now y'all listen, this is serious. I'm serious about this. That's a big deal.
It is.
Y'all need to really think about that. You have evidence of something now. That's important. Sorry, Elaine. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my LPC supervisor told me after I completed the training for birth choice, and it was video, and then we talked about it, but she said basically, okay, you're ready to go. You're literally like pushing the cub out, and you're just going to kind of stand and go and do it, no hand holding, and you're basically not on your own, but you can do this. She said you've learned, you have the theory, now you're going to put it into application, you're good to go. And by the way, we have a client scheduled for you on your first day. I want you to go and train with the counselor that's leaving, but we have a client for you. And I thought, oh, okay, good. I'll probably, I'm thinking I'll sit in with the counselor that's leaving while she's doing the session. And when I got there, it was no, okay, it's 11 o'clock. She's here. And I'm like, okay, we going? No, you're going. And I'm kind of with my notepad, and I'm like, just kind of what you described. That's just like almost shaking in my boots, not knowing what to expect. And I walked in, beautiful smiling face, and I just kind of winged it, and here we are. And I did it, and it's been a tremendous experience.
Well, and I think that I was talking with my supervisor, and she spoke to our field supervisor, like our field person, Mary something,
Jane.
Mary Jane. I was gonna say Mary Elaine, but that's not right. And one of the biggest compliments I think us have at Hope's Door and Amberton, because it's me, Kelly, and Crystal. She said that what she has seen from all of us is like she would hire any one of us. And I thought that was a huge accomplishment and a huge compliment to each of us, because she didn't have to say that. So it's like, again, I think humbling is apparently my word for the day, but it's pretty cool to hear that kind of feedback, knowing that I walked in there like a scared little schoolgirl for the first day. And then now I'm still scared. It's still a reality of like the real world. It's going to happen, but I feel a little bit more prepared, and having, to your point, a little bit more evidence that I'm capable.
Yeah. Good. Anyone else?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. This is Crystal, and I just want to echo what Beth just said. Well, I had the opportunity to walk at Hope's Door as well, and when I was about to start, I didn't know what to expect. By the way, one of the things accomplishments that I wrote down was that, or one of the things I learned about myself, that I could do anything I put my hat to. I could do anything, because coming from a different background, actually I'm an accountant, and here I am kind of switching gears into counseling, which is a passion for me. But it's one thing to have a passion, it's another thing to actually be faced with the actual job. And going through this past 6 months at Hope's Door has been an eye-opener about what I'm capable of doing, and saw another side of me that I wasn't really aware of. Being put in a situation, first of all, I worked in the shelter, actually went into the shelter, so face to face with actual victims of domestic violence. So initially, I wasn't sure what to expect going into the shelter. It was very humbling, because a lot of these women trusted us with their secrets. Initially, there's a lot of apprehension on their side, and eventually they opened up. So you go in there thinking, oh, what are you gonna say? Are you gonna trigger the PTSD, or are you gonna get them to open up? But looking back over these six months, it's been, if I have to do it, I'll do it again, because it's very humbling, and it just showed me another side of myself. So that, I see that as an accomplishment.
Good. Now, please be careful. You're making me scared.
I do this, and I'm driving with both hands. I just have my.
I know. I'm just kidding. I had a client try to do a session while they were driving one time, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. So, anyone else?
Hi, this is Lisa. I wanted to share one thing that I learned is that one of my sessions, I started the session and asked my client how she was doing, and she told me that, oh, I went to see a psychiatrist.
Oh, you're breaking up. Yeah, Lisa, you're breaking up.
to get tested to see if I was bipolar then, because I have a third practicum.
Hey, Lisa, you're breaking up. Yeah, we didn't hear. We pretty much didn't hear anything except for third practicum. And we'll wait while we wait for her. If anyone else.
I guess what I learned about myself that most of the Beth as well as Lisa, I mean Crystal, was talking about. I learned about myself in a way that my insecurities my insecurities, and it has nothing to do with my abilities. So I was able to separate the two once I acknowledged it and saw it, because in the beginning I would speak and I could understand why I would get this headache. And I would get this extremely bad headache as I'm talking, and because I was talking with adolescents, and these particular adolescents is a high their need was very high. They major depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, harm, self-harm. It was so high because they had just come from inpatient to PHP. And so I didn't know that I could understand. So at the beginning, I was thinking that, I'm at the wrong place, because I always want to work with kids and adolescents. And I was like, oh, this is not for me. It's not for me. And then speaking, because then I had two sites. And one site they was easy to talk to because their need wasn't as high as the second site. But what I learned about myself is that it is because of the adolescents, they were able to receive from me when I wasn't receive what I was, the passion, the empathy, because I end up getting the the nickname. They nicknamed a lot of the interns, which we didn't know that, and so my nickname was they said I'm like the nanotype that and I kind of was offended by it, but when I realized that it was comforting, I was to them, and I was able to use. And I was offended not because I was offended because of my own personal hangups. It has nothing to do with them. And so once I acknowledged that, and I was able to tap into it, and I was able to separate the two, and it was more of then I was able to get a therapeutic alliance with the clients, and they would come to me. And then when I say something with one particular client, because at the site where I was at, I went on Wednesday and Friday, so I could come on Wednesday and it'd be a new client come in, so that it was in and out. So sometimes if you didn't look at your notes, you would know that it was a new client. So anyway, this particular client was there, and we was doing a skill, and she did not, and she was just real mean and nasty. But when I came back she came in on that Friday. When I came back the following Wednesday, she kind of apologized, and she said I really helped her, and that she really, and that was like humbling, like, okay, because that's when I was able to separate who I am, my insecurities from what I was doing. And I'm like, okay, because I thought it was me that she was rejecting, but it wasn't. And once I realized it, from that point on, if my insecurities arise, I said, okay, I'm gonna put that to the side. That have nothing to do with what that client is going through. That's you need to deal with that later. But right now, focus on this client. And that it was able to humble me and to address my insecurities or the things that I was dealing with when I talk with the clients, because adolescents can be something else. And I didn't realize, I was like, did I really get myself for this? So, but in the end, I believe I'm in the right place when it comes to the adolescents.
Good for you. It probably feels good too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I want to say something about like feeling feeling humble in what we do is normal. That's pretty normal. Sometimes we think this like a quality of being humble means like a weak thing, like it's sometimes perceived as a weakness, and I think it's actually a strength. And it's also okay to feel confident and humble at the same time. Like it's so those can go together. And so I just want to, like what you guys are probably when you're feeling humble, that's fine. It also sounds to me like you're building confidence too. And what I guess I'm saying is that's those can go together. Like that can happen at the same time, which I think is good. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay. Good. Good. I want to do one more thing, and we can talk more after this. But I want to do one more thing while everything's kind of fresh. Um, I like to kind of, when I do this with people, I want to try to kind of end it with like a statement or something you can kind of take away with all the lists that you've done and kind of stuff you're thinking through. And I want you to think about, again, from the time you started till now, and everything that you kind of went through and all the accomplishments you made and all the things that you learned. If we can kind of start to boil that down, think about it like this: in spite of all of these things, or even though I went through these things, you can say it however you want. In spite of, even though, in spite of, or even though I went through, these things, I have accomplished this. And so now we're getting like real specific, right? And I want you to be as specific as you can. And if I would love for you to be able to put like, in spite of these things, I have accomplished this, accomplish one or, usually one or two words will be good. So whatever that is for you, in this case, it can't be graduate. It needs to be something else. Because we know that. I want you to think it through. In spite of these things, I have accomplished this. Whatever this is. And I like to just write it as a sentence. It usually helps to kind of do that. One of the things that I think is important about this, and I am gonna tie it to a spiritual concept that's in the Bible, but it's something that I think is not just limited to the Bible, but it's a concept I think that is universal. There's one children's Bible story that most every kid, if you ever went to church as a kid, you learned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and the going to the fiery furnace. I mean, it's a pretty popular story. Even people that I've worked with that went to church when they were kids and never went to church ever as adults remember some of those stories. And it's a great story because of the sheer, like, almost shock factor of it. I mean, it's pretty crazy if you think about it. And what I want to bring up is this concept that we're talking about right now. I call it this even if concept, or even though, or even through. What you guys went through, you went through something, and even though you went through something, you still accomplished something. You still learned something. You still grew from something, even if you didn't know, that was going to happen. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were told they were going into the furnace, they told Nebuchadnezzar, "Look, hey, I think God's going to save us." And then they said this little phrase, and it's kind of glossed over a little bit. And they said, "Even if he doesn't," which is kind of like, that's interesting if you think about it. We're pretty faithful, but even if he doesn't, if you think about it, it's like, why would they say that? Is that not faithful? I kind of think it's showing maturity, because even when we go through something and it doesn't turn out the way we think maybe it's going to, doesn't mean we can't learn from it. And it doesn't mean that we can't grow from it. Now, we might not grow or learn at the time, something that's really hard, but as we get past it and we look back on it, we can learn a lot from it. And I think that concept's very important, because a lot of the things you guys have learned, like academically speaking at Amberton, you're going to use, you're going to expound on, you're going to learn more about. Now you're entering into this phase where you're going to start really using a lot of things you've learned, like practically speaking, as you work with people, and you're going to really you're going to actually learn how to be a counselor now, right? Because you're going to be doing it with people. And even if it doesn't go great every time, even if there's not an aha moment every time, it doesn't mean that you haven't done anything. It can be as small as what Beth was saying. When you actively listen to someone and someone feels heard, that's an aha moment. That's a connection. Marjorie's experiencing this with probably kids that don't have a lot of adults that take time to listen to them. That's what she's doing. I mean, some of the clients you're going to work with, a lot of people don't listen to them. And that's what you're doing. You're offering yourself. So even if things don't always go the way you think, doesn't mean that something good's not happening. You never know. I've worked with many, many, many clients that have worked with other counselors or therapists in their life. And by the time they got to me, kind of had some breakthroughs. And it wasn't because of me, it's probably because those breakthroughs started with other people. And they really thought about it, So you don't know where you are on someone's journey. Like, you could be the person that starts this new kind of thought process for them. Or you could be at the end where you're trying to help them try to, use it, right? You just don't know where you are. And so I really want you, I want you to I would encourage you to keep this kind of accomplishment, kind of a list in your brain, set it aside and think about it every so often, because it's really good to take stock of where we've been and where we are and where we're going. But like, what have we learned and what have we actually done? And the reason why I feel like that's important is exactly why I was talking about evidence. We need to base who we are and what we're doing off evidence that we have. And we have evidence of things that we don't even think about. You are more capable than you know, and you have evidence of it now. You have evidence of your capability, not of perfection, but of your capability. We're not trying to be perfect, right? Counseling is an art, right? It's like, I love playing golf. I played since I was little. You play golf. You don't perfect golf. Like, that's why you say you play sports, because you don't perfect it, you play it. right? We counsel every day to get better. We don't perfect it. Even master level counselors, like master clinicians, continue to work on their craft all the time. And that's what we're doing. Does that make sense? You guys have everything you need and you've proven it. Now you just have that pesky exam and a couple of hoops to jump through, you know, that's about it. But you've come, look how far you've come. I mean, you know, there's no telling where you're going to be. No telling. So, having said that, one of the things that I try to do as we wrap up too is again tell you that you have everything you need. You just need to practice, which is the state's going to give you plenty of opportunities to practice and get a ton of hours and work, and that's important. That's good. But you're going to get to the end of that, and then you're going to be licensed, and you know, who knows where you're going to go. And so I just encourage you to realize that you're not really starting new. You're kind of just carrying on what you've been doing, really, more than anything. This is just a transition to a new chapter. That's all, right? You're closing down one chapter and starting another one. So just keep that with you, and keep in mind that it's okay to look at your accomplishments every once in a while. And I think it's good to keep them. I do this with my clients a lot of times. I especially do things like this with clients that have a hard time with that negative self-talk in their head, where they think they're not capable, or, you know, like I work with a lot of people with imposter syndrome, and doing things, and a lot of counselors, when we first start, think we're imposters, like someone's going to find out we don't know anything, and they're going to hate us and kick us out. And it's good to go, wait a minute, hey, I have no evidence of that, but I have evidence of these things. And so activities like this are really good at like building evidence for that little voice in our head, because we all have that little voice. All right, cool. Now, what I'd love to do with everyone for like, I don't know, 10 minutes. There's a couple things. We're going to do two more things. I'm going to do one more small activity that's for me. And then at the end, after that, we can ask questions, or I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions, just like housekeeping things. But I wanted to save that till the end. I didn't want to do that at the first. There's a couple of things that I would like to know from y'all, and this is totally open, like an open-ended question. It's just for me. It's not for anybody else. The university does its own evaluation, has its own system, but I kind of do my own kind of evaluation of how I can do this class better, how we can do better in our program. And I've actually taken what this Practicum 2 class, these classes have said, and I've started implementing it in my classes. So what you guys say is very important to me. Like, for example, about 2 or 3 practicums ago, it would have been in the fall. It's either the fall or the summer. They kept talking about getting experience in doing mock sessions. And so in every class I teach now, I do mock sessions because I think it's important and it's helpful. So I do it now. So whatever you guys say is important to me. And so I really want to kind of lean on you here a little bit and get your wisdom. And this is a simple question. What can make this class better? What can make Amberton classes better? What, in your opinion, what things can we do, or what can I do in this class that can make this better? What would be more helpful? What would be good for everyone? And that's just an open-ended, super open-ended. And that includes things that you went through that you liked. Anything. It doesn't have to be, you know, it can be anything.
I think for practicum, something that would be nice to add would be like instruction in basic counseling skills. because we have a lot of theory and ethics and things like that in our classes, and we get some counseling skills in the advanced skills class, and that's kind of the first time we get real like nuts and bolts counseling. And then we go into practicum, and I know I, for one, didn't really have enough of those, and I realized I needed to go do some catching up. And I did a bunch of reading and took some continuing ed classes to get those counseling skills. And, I think practicum, both 1 and 2, would be a good place to maybe have lectures that are just on like nuts and bolts, empathic responding, and kind of just elementary interventions.
Or even pre-prac. Because in pre-prac,
Yes.
there was a lot of downtime. So I think pre-prac would be a great opportunity to hone in those. I'm hearing feedback, sorry. But just practice, like Kelly said, those skills, and have, like, I know a lot of, a couple of our interns at Hope Store they were talking about how they had to lead groups and create curriculum and do all these things. And I think that is a huge benefit to just learning. I helped with creating curriculum, and I learned so much just in that process. And if we had that prior to walking into an internship where we're trying to implement these skills, I think that would be a big benefit. And pre-prac was a lot of downtime, and I think that would be a great opportunity to prepare for prac and prac 2.
And just to piggyback off of both Beth and Kelly, I would also just say possibly guidance on maybe videos that we could watch that are like exemplar as far as sessions are concerned, just to be able to, again, see it a little more in practice. For me, I'm one of those who lives in imposter syndrome. It is something that I'm struggling with and I'm working through in therapy. And so to the point that I just applied for a position because I was like trying to pull myself out of that space and trying to think more positively about where I am on my professional journey. But I think that, having those additional supports would really be able to benefit, again, somebody like me.
Got it. What else?
Dr. Bedard,
Mm-hmm.
this is Elaine. I had to switch over from my computer to the phone, so I'm in the car, but hopefully this is coming through okay. The one thing that I thought would be advantageous for the program overall is more focus on the development of our counseling theory, just because it's so critical in the work that we do. And I mean, you have to know that and be able to basically defend that in order to pass pre-prac. And you have the theories class, and I mean, we write about it in different classes, but there's really not a true, I don't know, an opportunity to really learn it and understand it. It took me a long time to get there. And I almost felt like I had to just kind of force fit myself into, what I finally landed on. But I just felt like I didn't really have enough to really build on it and really understand.
theory.
Okay.
And that guides what we do as
Yep.
counselors, as therapists.
Got it. What else? What was helpful? What were some of the more helpful things? Classes, like in classes, or like what were some of the helpful parts of your experience?
Being told that this one will stick with me, and I'm very happy I heard this, but Dr. Don shared that it'll take us several years to really hone in our technique, and that we're not going to get it right away, and that it's okay that when we walk away from this education that we don't have a specific theoretical orientation that we completely identify with, and our skill set is going to be changing and learning and growing as we go. That was really encouraging for me. And I know I've spoken with a couple of other classmates about the same thing, and that it's just it's nice to hear that it is an art, and art is always changing. So we don't have to know it all right away, basically.
Good. What else? Good.
These candid conversations, Prac 1 as well, where we can realize that we're all experiencing the same things. Like in the little breakout rooms we had, I felt very seen because we were all kind of experiencing the same thing. And it can sometimes feel like you're alone when you're, going through this journey or whatever. And so being able to have these types of conversations, I think really helps.
I agree with Kobe, because when I met at the sites and the different interns from the different universities, that was a support that I received. And if we can receive that a little bit more doing the and doing our practical, what would you say, we have those breakouts, and that would help a lot, because they have their experience through their education from their university, but we have our experience through ours, and we can talk among each other in a way that it'd be different. And I think that would help a lot too.
It's almost like we're in group therapy, aren't we?
Almost. What other things have been helpful? Or did you enjoy, or was good, or what other things?
I've enjoyed in Prac 1 and 2 hearing my fellow students discuss their cases and their clients, because different people had clients who were very different from mine. So it was almost like getting a wider range of experience in my practicum.
What helped me throughout the program, throughout all the classes, all my professors was warm and helpful, and allowed me to be comfortable. And I appreciate their level of care throughout the process, throughout the program. Yeah.
I definitely agree with Marjorie on that one. Obviously I don't have an experience to compare as far as graduate studies are concerned. I've only attended Amberton. And so I don't know what, some of the other universities look like. I have worked in a program at a local university, but it was just as small as Amberton is. But I do enjoy that we are seemingly as small as we are. And every professor that I've ever had has been genuinely supportive and personable throughout the process. Even if I, only had a class with them one time, they still made themselves available. I've reached out to professors in, just as I was going through my role as a school counselor, and asking questions because it was a brand new space for me. And, I wasn't a student of theirs at that current moment, but they were still very willing to help and assist. So I greatly appreciate the staffing at Amberton.
Good.
I got to piggyback off that. In addition to what they've said, all of you all have been very transparent, and I appreciate that a lot with any question and anything about you all's experience, and I think it's helpful.
Good. Okay.
One thing I think that, I know y'all had it in the past where y'all have a test, that I think that if there were in one of the classes, I don't know which, that we have a practice test to be able to actually help, because that would help with having to spend as much money afterwards to get us prepared for the NCE or whatever exam. But if we had some ahead of time, that would help a little bit too. I don't, because some of the, that take a test before.
So one thing that's about to happen in the fall is the pre-practicum is going to go away from the portfolio to a practice exam. So both the NCE practice and the LMFT practice, they both have practice exams. They do cost money, but they're not very expensive compared to the big exam. And there will be a pass rate that will be required of students to pass before you move on, but it's just for that reason, Marjorie, to give some experience with the exam that hopefully would, as Elaine was alluding to, maybe start to solidify some theory application too on the exam, because the exam is very application oriented, very practical oriented, not a lot of just regurgitation. It's also very practical, and so that's going to happen in the fall, starting in the fall. That should be a secret. I'm telling you because I'm just telling you, but I don't think it's a big secret. I think it's about to go in the catalog that we do in this. We do a new catalog in June, so it's about to be in there. So it's a pretty big shift. So pre-prac will go away from the portfolio to the actual exam or practice exam. So actually, there's been multiple folks talk about that, and we've been thinking about it for a while. We just couldn't figure out how to do it, and we kind of have I think we've got a good plan to put in place. But I think one of the things that I'm hearing, and this is something that I'm hearing from other practicums too. So I want to make sure, I know Kelly brought it up first, but other people have talked about it. The idea of practical, like just some basic counseling skills, the idea of gathering those or learning about those. Here's where I struggle with classes like this. I want to find a balance between, okay, we can lecture about that for sure. I mean, we could teach that for sure. That's not hard. But also combine that with, like, I want you to use them and practice them. And so classes that would focus on not just a lecture like me just talking or teaching, but also, you know, I'm making this up. You know, we do sessions with each other where we practice empathy, or we practice reflection, or we practice active listening, or whatever it is. Is that kind of what you're talking about that would be helpful? Something like that, even in, you know, I'm saying as late as practicum too, because obviously you've already kind of gone through, you know, all the other classes, but is that what you're saying? Does that sound helpful?
I would say yes, yes, and yes. Having
I would also,
opportunities to.
I would also say yes, as someone who hates role play and doesn't want to pretend that I'm doing something. I think that there's a major benefit to just getting out of yourself and practicing those situations of, you know, active listening, and just give us a prompt and like go do that.
One
Agreed.
thing my supervisor does is there's just 3 of us that are under her. She gives us homework. Like, for example, we'll watch a TV show as a group and we will have to active listen. And if you were their therapist, what would you do? So maybe, because I don't like role playing either, so I'm with you on that. But maybe even something like that where present something and then we all have to give feedback on it. I don't know if that could also help.
I want you to, I'm probably going to push you to role play because you need to do it. It makes you better. I didn't like it either. Just FYI, I didn't like doing it either as a student, but it does make you better. But that's not Colby. That's not a bad idea either. You know, like watching a video or a TV show or so. That's not, you know, like I've shown Modern Family in classes before and being like, hey, watch this scene and you're the therapist. I mean, I think that's a good idea too. Okay. Kelly, what were you going to say? I think you were going to say something.
Oh, so I was going to ask for clarification on what you were describing. So am I understanding correctly that you were proposing like you would lecture on the skills and then we would practice them also as part of the same course with each other?
That's what I was.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of brainstorming out loud.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And actually, it would almost be a good idea to maybe include a component of that with most of the courses. Like with group counseling, we could do groups. With addiction counseling, we could role play addiction counseling.
Yeah.
And with lifespan development, which you taught, which was a class of yours I really liked, you could even, you know, have us do role playing with people in the different stages of life.
Yeah, that's the only class I don't do mock stuff in, but I'm going to start doing it in every class that I teach, because I think there's 2 things I'm hearing. You guys are not the only people saying it, just so you know. There's a lot of people talking about it, and I think it's good that you're wanting to get more experience. That's a good thing, because your practicum is going to give you experience. Like, you're going to meet with real clients and work and get real experience. But what I'm also hearing is it would be helpful to have some of these basics kind of tucked away in your brain a little bit before you get to that spot. Because if all else fails, and this is true now forever, from now until the end of time, if you don't know what to do with a client, you can fall back on those basics forever. There's still times where I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they talking about? What is happening? I don't know where they're going. So I just active listen, or I just really lean on empathy, or I really lean on like reflecting or something like that. So you can use those. So I'm hearing a lot of, hey, if we could have those basics tucked away, that would really help us. And Kelly, to your point, not just in this class, but like, you know, branch out.
I 100% agree with Kelly. And I think that having it be in a situation where it's not just the student going off and doing this thing where the professor is actively involved in giving feedback on I mean, because I know that Kelly and I role played a couple of times, and I like went in there like balls to the wall and was just like this. I mean, it was terrible. Poor Kelly, she was my partner, but it would have been nice to have had some feedback on like, okay, maybe this approach would have been better, or that approach would have been better. But it was literally go off and do the thing, which Kelly and I learned a lot from each other, and we learned a lot together. But having that expert ear, that expert eye and voice in that process would have been helpful as well.
Yeah. Okay. If I'm being honest, the hard part about that is there's so many of y'all. It's just hard to do. That's all. But that's not that that's a bad idea. In the advanced class, I've started doing we call it triads, where it's 2 people counsel and 1 person observes, and then they give feedback, and then you switch. You can do it that way too. There's lots of ways to kind of go around it. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. So now, from now on, when I make people do mock sessions, I'm going to blame it on y'all and tell everybody that this is my Prac 2 class's fault that we're doing this. No, I think it's a good idea. I think it's helpful. I think it could be helpful. Any other suggestions, help, things you like, things that you would want more of before we end this part?
I can't really think of anything, but I guess my question is, what do you have? What kind of advice do you have as parting students walking into the real world and not having the protection of Amberton University anymore?
I think you guys are, like I said this earlier, you're way more prepared than you think. And what Don's saying is right. You have time to develop. You're going to change you might start with a theory or model of therapy and change over time, and that's okay. You're going to develop that as you go. You're going to resonate with something, and you're also going to learn that different kinds of clients means you can use different types of models, and that's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't worry about making mistakes, and don't try to be perfect, because you can't. And sometimes you're not going to know everything, and sometimes you're going to lose track of what's going on, and sometimes things aren't going to go well, and that's okay. I think that this is all, and you're not alone. I mean, you're in good company with lots of people that are, as you guys have seen at your practicum sites, people from other schools are going through the same. Now they might do it different. Other schools, they might do it differently, but you're all going through the same thing. The other thing I think that you have the advantage of, I think, versus if you were, in your early 20s just graduating, you all have a lot of experience that you can lean on. You have other things you've done, and I think that's going to help you too. And this is something I've said before, and if you've been in any of my classes, you've heard me say it. I had a really good friend. He ended up being a really good friend, psychologist, that I took a class with him way back in 1995. He said, don't get into business of making personal decisions for people. And I've literally thought that almost every day I've worked with people, because that's not our job to make personal decisions for people. The minute you start doing that, you're not doing counseling anymore. And I think that's really important. And the second thing is, if you don't be afraid to refer people if you need to. It's okay. If something's out of your scope or out of your ability, that's okay too. It's really hard when you first start though, because you want to take everybody and get your hours, and so that part's hard, but we don't make personal decisions for people. Just try to stay away from that. And I think it's the great thing is when you get out and you get a supervisor, as you start getting your hours, that supervisor is going to become kind of your lifeline too. That's going to be really helpful for you. And hopefully you can do supervision with other people. That will be helpful too. I think that would be a good thing. And I think going to trying to go to conferences is really helpful because you meet people and you kind of keep up with the field and you can network with people. Things like that are really important. I think that's all those things are really good. But in terms of clinically speaking, you're going to learn a lot and make mistakes, but also you're going to do a lot of great things. You're going to do both. So yeah, I have every confidence in all of you. You're going to be great. So has anyone here taken the exam? Is anyone about to take the exam? Daniel's shaking his head.
Well, the week after graduation, May 27th. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Working through and studying. See how it
coming.
goes.
Yeah,
it's coming quick.
It's coming. All right. Good. Let me know how you do.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to reach out if you have questions. I'm going to give you all I'll put this in the chat. This is a little easier email to get in touch with me. Reach out if you have questions. Try to stay away from doing counseling in a silo, like getting off on your own. Don't, that really leads to burnout too. Try to get around people as much as you can. Talk to other people. That helps. That's one thing about, I do virtual therapy now, so I have to be creative with how I do that, with how I meet with other clinicians. Because I used to work in an office, it was super easy. I just go next door. Now I have to be creative. But anyway, and this is my opinion, my 2 cents. The virtual therapy world is not going away, and I would seriously think hard about that and what that might mean the next 10 years, especially. I think the other thing that's probably about to happen, MFTs Congress just passed a bill that allowed MFTs to accept Medicaid, which is a big deal. That's going to change a lot of things, which means other LPCs will be able to do it. I think they're able to do it. That's just going to change things. But also, I think what's going to happen in the next few years is there's going to be a lot of other doors open for mental health in lots of other areas, like first responders, like there's a little bit now, medical workers, there's a little bit of that now. I think that's going to happen. So like if you have a heart for that, those areas, that's going to open up. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to open up for us to kind of enter into. And the virtual world's going to really be one of those things. I think it's not going away. I think it's going to expand. So that's just something to think about as you move forward. But you can kind of keep track of that. Like when you go to conferences, you'll hear people talk about things like that and what's on the horizon. And so anyway, just things like that are just good to kind of wrap your head around. I never dreamed, 13 years ago, I'd be doing what I'm doing now. I never dreamed this would happen, but COVID, kind of pushed me into it. Now I love it. So it's awesome. Okay, now and this is for everyone watching the recording and for everyone here, I have to have not just your assignment, the reflection paper. I have to have your hours and your evaluations before I can give you a grade. I have to have that. So some people have already turned it in on Moodle. I've seen those. I've had a couple of people email them to me, which is fine too. However I get it, that's fine. Doesn't matter to me how I get it. I just have to have it because we keep those. And that's how we say that you finished your practicum. And that allows you to actually apply for your license and graduate and get, get your grade and all those things. Okay. So technically you have until the 18th, which is a week from today. But if you're already done with your hours, you've already got everything signed, at the minimum, just give me your hours at the minimum. And I know sometimes people have trouble tracking their supervisors down to sign, even if they can just verbally do something. I need all that paperwork to be turned in either on Moodle or emailed to me. Okay, got to have it by the 18th because I turn grades in like a day or two after that. Is anyone worried about not being able to turn in all of their paperwork if you haven't already?
Dr. Vedad,
Yes.
I have a question. Do you need the Prac 1 and Prac 2 hours?
Yes, I need all the hours. All the hours. Yep. Every hour you've done. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So
I need all of them.
I have been tracking my hours on an Excel spreadsheet.
Great.
But I have Prac 1 where my supervisor signed off on those hours.
Great.
So which do you want? Just the Excel spreadsheet?
I need what's signed.
Okay.
And I've had people turn in it spreadsheets, but they've been signed. That's fine too.
Okay. So I'll just have to transfer all my hours to the page for her to sign. Great.
No, you can use the spreadsheet. Just have her sign it. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
So again, so I just have the total hours
Total
on there
hours.
and just
Yep.
have it signed. Okay, perfect. Great. That's already done.
Because you've
Okay,
already turned in
good
your
deal.
Prac 1. Dr. Johnson's already got those.
Yep.
I need everything that shows you're completed. That's what I need.
Okay.
Right.
So you don't need like an hour by hour breakdown of everything that we've done.
Yes.
You do need that.
What you
So I do
turn
have an
into,
Excel.
yeah, that's perfect. I think Excel spreadsheets are fine. Just have someone sign that. And just FYI, that's what I use to track my hours when I was gathering hours for my license too. Like that's a really good way to do it. That's fine. Like you don't have to use the sheet we provided, right? There's a sheet that's provided in the handbook that you can use. You don't have to use that, but you can if you want. But if you're using Excel, just make sure you have to have those signed off on. No one's going to do this, but in other words, you could have just made it up, right? Like you never done anything. We wouldn't know. That's why we have to have them sign.
Okay. So just to be clear, so like I have like the, as far as like the hours go, like I put the total hours, like here's the hours that I've done that's been signed off on, but I also have like the full spreadsheet of all the hours and everything. I need to have both of those signed off on?
I just need one of those that's signed.
Okay.
Yeah. One of those that's signed. Yeah. I'm trying to work with university right now to do this through Google somehow, so we can just have a document, right, that we all just keep track of when you start Prac 1 that we automatically have. But this is kind of a little slow going. But eventually that's what we're going to do. But because we're doing all this electronically now, we're trying to get to the electronic place. If I was you guys, I would use a spreadsheet of some kind to track the hours. Now there's apps now that you can use too. That's out there, but spreadsheet works really well because you can do columns and it's easy to keep track of. And don't forget that like the non-direct hours, like you get 300, you have to have 300 total. LPCs have to have 300 total. Everyone has to have 300 total. 200 of those are the non-direct hours, right? You get 40 from Prac 1 and 40 from Prac 2. So you get 80 from the classes. Don't forget that. Don't forget those. All right. Any questions about any of those things? Get one of these notebooks and keep it with you and write down ideas that you have. It's really helpful. Especially like when I work with clients, I just chicken scratch stuff down like what I just did with you guys. I have stuff written in here. It's like my little notebook. I learned this in my PhD program. I know that sounds weird, but every once in a while something hits you, like if you're learning something and something hits you and you write it down, I think it's really helpful. But I'm old fashioned, right? I got a book, I'm writing it in here. I don't use my phone. So, okay.
Hi,
I'm
Dr. Bennett.
old-fashioned too.
This is Lisa. I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I know you said it already, but it's still not clicking for me. From Practicum 1, I turned in my hours to Dr. Johnson. How do you want me to turn those hours into you? The same paperwork that I turned into him, turn it into you?
Yep.
Okay.
Here, look, let me show y'all. Everybody see this? This look
Yes.
familiar?
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're turning into me, exact same thing. So if this is going to have you've already turned one of these in for Prac 1. You're going to have one for Prac 2. I want all of them. I want both. Okay.
Okay.
Student
Okay,
evaluation,
thank
the supervisor evaluation, and these hours. I want all of those. This is right here this is actually on Moodle. It's on the homepage, final paperwork there. I just need all of that, okay? Some people have already done it, which is awesome. What I was saying about the spreadsheet, if you kept these on a spreadsheet, as long as that's signed, that's fine. It has to be signed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we actually keep physical copies for like 5 years or 6 years. I can't remember. We keep them for a little while. Excuse me. Any other questions? It doesn't mean you can't ask questions later. This isn't the last chance, but since we're already here.
Who all is going to graduation?
I am.
I'm kind of bummed. I'm bummed. I'm going to miss it. It's my son's 16th birthday, so we're celebrating that night. But I'm going to miss it. Kind of bummed.
I'll miss seeing you.
It's fun. It's a really cool thing. It'll be good. And even if you don't go, you still graduate. So that's good.
I picked up my cap and gown today.
Oh, good. Awesome.
That's good.
I didn't get to walk in my undergrad because it was during COVID, so this is exciting. This is
Oh, good for you.
one I get to
Yeah.
walk.
Yeah, good. That's awesome. Yeah, it really is cool.
What?
I welcome any tips on how to wear the hood, because I tried it on and it just looks really weird and I don't know what to do with it.
No, you just drape it. You don't wear it on your head. You know that, right? You just drape
No,
it.
I know that.
Yeah, you just put it on, and there should be like there's a little way to button it to the front.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
When you'll see when you get there, somebody will be there helping.
that's good.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. All right. Now go and be free.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bedard. I really enjoyed
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Dr. Bedard.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for everything.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Don't do drugs.
Bye.
Keep it real.
Bye.